Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Sterling Holmes Matt Verderame. Verd, it has been like 3 years at least. You bailed on my wedding, yet you're going to do this with me. I thought maybe you'd bail again on this. I don't know. I've missed you.
I couldn't get out of it. So here I am. I would have loved to have gone to your wedding, but as I told you off site here, I would have had to basically spend about $1,500 to get a hotel room, and it wasn't going to happen.
Oh, I'm not worth that to you? I'm not worth that $1,500 in a hotel room. Come on, dude.
No one's worth that to me. Okay? I wouldn't have gone to my own wedding if I had to pay that amount of money.
After I visited you in Chicago, I said you could have stayed on my couch, Verderame. Your back would have felt horrific, but you still could have done it.
I would have been in traction, but yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I could have stayed at your house. But listen, the important thing is that you got married. Somebody accepted you as a human being, and now we can all move forward and pretend that you've blended into society well.
Yeah, she's stuck with me, which is honestly, it's a blessing. She can't get out now. I mean, we've signed the papers. It's we're good to go.
Right.
I'm excited though. I haven't talked to you in a while. It has been a long time. A lot to get into.
It really has.
The Houston-Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs, a really good matchup. You had an injured Patrick who's now been a full participant in a few practices in a row. Hollywood Brown sounds like he is coming back. Still some question marks at tackle. No DJ Humphries is what it's sounding like this week, but potentially DJ Humphries on Christmas. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about Underdog, baby. We're talking about Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is a great spot. It's where I use all the time. Higher, lower, you make the call. If you are not good, right? I make a lot of bad calls all the time. And let's just say you pick a guy and you have the over on him. You have the higher. He gets injured. You know what happens most places? You're screwed. You're done. They take your money. You know what Underdog does? They go, that's not your fault. How are you supposed to know dude was going to get injured? They save you. Underdog helps me, and they will help you as well. Higher or lower, you make the call right there on Underdog. And if you download the app today and use code Arrowhead Addict, all one word, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Code Arrowhead Addict, one word, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona. Present in state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncbgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP 25342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. I am sorry. I mumbled there. I didn't have any water. All I've had is a cappuccino, and that's not great juice for trying to act like
shots in it.
Twist 3, just a 3-er.
Just 3. Oh, okay.
All right.
Never had a cup of coffee in my life, by the way. Just
you're a psychopath. Yeah, you've murdered like 4 or 5 people, though. Yeah, that's what really gets you going in the morning is that murders. All right, Tim Settle.
Before we get into this, I will say this, okay? And if people out there are like, this isn't about the Chief, I'll let you know, deal with it. I was in Chicago. Took my wife into Chicago for a date weekend, essentially, a Christmas date weekend, and shout out to my parents who watched the kids and somehow survived it. But you go down to you're outside Starbucks down there. It's a 45-minute wait for a coffee. Like, people are literally lined up, 60, 70 people deep. Bro, it's a fucking coffee. It's a coffee. Like, go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee. No, I need my venti, mocha, soy, whip. Anyone who does it, I'm sorry. You are out of your mind. Okay, and I'm putting that as kindly as I can. And it blows me away that every time I see it, it's like, it's coffee. Go get it anywhere. Who cares? Like, what? Like, I understand, like, if you have the option of Starbucks and, some other place and it's the same wait time, fine, whatever. You're going to wait 45 minutes for a coffee? Are you kidding me? Anyone who does that needs to be psychiatrically evaluated.
Just make it at home like an adult. Make it at home.
Also a fair point.
Okay, you'll save money. Or live with your parents right now because you're getting your house renovated. I'm in my parents' basement, Verderame. So when people are like, you probably do your podcast from your parents' basement, they're correct right now. They are literally, you're literally correct right now. Let's start with this. I saw it in the chat right here. Tim Settle, defensive player, defensive lineman for the Houston Texans, talking a little bit of smack, saying Patrick better be mobile. It's not a threat. It's a promise. What do you make of this? Because we've seen this in the past. Anytime someone tries to call out Patrick, things go wrong. Why do players consistently do this?
Because they can't help it. And some guys, to them, it's like this opportunity to make a statement, and like they get a microphone in front of them, and all of a sudden, they start talking. It is a terrible, terrible idea. And I was thinking about this earlier. I can't think of not one time where this has ever worked out well since he's been in the league for another team. Like, there is literally no scenario where you'd sit there and say, yeah, that guy talked a lot of smack about Mahomes and then it worked out well. It was good. It's a good idea. Like, that is literally never happened. And like, look, Tim Settle, to his credit, he's having a really nice year. He's got 5 sacks on the interior. He's having a good season. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're not Will Anderson Jr. or Danielle Hunter. If like those guys want to say something, it's still a bad idea. But like, all right, you've kind of earned it. You're Tim Settle Jr. Like, calm down a little bit. It's just, if I was D'Amico Ryans, I'd be like, oh my God, stop talking. Immediately stop talking. But the damage is done.
I think Tim Settle needs to settle down. All right, Hollywood Brown, this is a big storyline. Sounds like barring any sort of re-aggravation, which I don't know how you'd re-aggravate this if you've already been cleared by the doctors.
Yeah, it's not a soft tissue thing.
Yeah, outside of a DJ Humphrey situation where it's because he's not played in a long time and he gets one of those soft tissue injuries. Sure sounds like Hollywood Brown is going to play. What should expectations be for Hollywood Brown? Because I know personally, Verderame, my expectations are pretty tampered. I said, get ready to see Justin Watson be the second leading snap count receiver for Kansas City. I know I have the same reaction. But again, let's be real. That's most likely going to be the case. What do you think fans should look like when it comes to Hollywood Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect him to play like 20 to 25 snaps in the game. I think that's probably the most realistic scenario. Because they're not going to put him out there for 50 snaps in this game. And quite honestly, they shouldn't. You got a game in 4 days. He hasn't played since August. Like, he should get 20, 25 snaps in this game. Maybe get him an easy target or two. Let him just kind of get back into the feel and the rhythm of the game. I think that's probably the way they go, and it probably is the way they should go. I think him coming back is potentially very significant because he adds a speed element that they don't have outside of Xavier Worthy. And now if you put both those guys outside, now all of a sudden you kind of force teams to play a certain way. They can't just play single high and roll the guy over Worthy. Now you've got these, you're going to force a lot of 2 deep looks. Now, the downside of that is the Chiefs already struggle to get explosive plays. And if you're getting a lot of 2 deep looks, they're going to play underneath. But the upside of that is there should be a lot more room to operate, and you're taking a guy out of the box and all the rest of it. So, and look, I mean, the upside also is you have Hollywood Brown, and you might get a single high look here and there, and you can really hit an explosive. So, look, I think it helps him. I don't think he's going to make a huge impact in this game against Houston, but it's nice to see that he's back. Frankly, I didn't think he'd be back yet. I thought the Steelers game would be when they would bring him back, but he's ready to go, and so that's good news.
I'm intrigued to see where he thrives. I think a lot of folks have been talking about the deep ball or maybe a lot of yak ability. I don't think either are really going to be his strong suit. I think it's the intermediate route. I do think Xavier is still going to do what Xavier does, but Hollywood's going to take over a little bit of the Rashee Rice role, different style, maybe not even line up in the slot as much, but that intermediate, that 8 to 12 yard route, I think Hollywood is going to thrive there. You look at his career statistics, you look at the yak numbers, they've not been great. They've actually been trending down, which is not ideal, but his career number of 4.1, I looked up where that's at in the NFL this season. That ranks about 84th in the NFL. There's some good names in that list of players like Brandon Ayuk, who's on a down year, but you have Alan Lazard, you have Michael Pittman Jr., but he's not a huge yak guy. But he does traditionally have some decent hands. And I think that intermediate route, that's where he is going to thrive. I know a lot of people, myself included, want to see DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy on the field together, at least for the large majority of snaps, but that seems unrealistic. Will we see that come playoff time, or is it still going to be a good timeshare of Justin Watson, a smattering of Juju Smith-Schuster, a ton of 12 personnel with Noah Gray? How do you think this timeshare breaks out?
Look, I mean, in my head, if I was Andy Reid, the lion's share of the snaps would be going to Hopkins and Brown and Worthy in the playoffs, and like mixing Juju here and there and mixing Watson here and there. But it's the Chiefs, so I am fully expecting that Justin Watson is going to play as much as anybody, and that we'll get a smattering of McCall Hardman if he's back and healthy, and Juju, but I do think that the guy, I in all seriousness, though, I do think in the playoffs, those three guys that I mentioned at the top are going to see the majority of the snaps. They're the best players to have.
Are they almost holding DeAndre back? Because I've been wondering. I don't get it. You'll see DeAndre go out and make some great plays, sure hands, best receiver, I think, overall on the roster right now. And yet you're looking at the snap count. It does not reflect the effectiveness of that. He's playing the third most amount of snaps. I don't get this unless they're just basically holding him back.
So his snap counts after the first game against the Raiders, where he just played 23 snaps. Here's the percentage, not the number of snaps, but the percentage of offensive snaps he's played for them. 60, 65, 47, 45, 59, 55, 45. Like, to me, that number should be more around 65 to 70% of the snaps. And it consistently has not been. I do think they're probably holding it back a little bit, and by the way, if people are wondering about Watson, in that same time frame, it's been 69%, 76, 56, 65, 45, 51, 56. So he's consistently snapping either at about the same number or a touch higher. And then lastly here, Xavier Worthy, if I can pull him up quick. There we go. So Xavier Worthy, again, same time frame, starting with after the Raiders game, after the first Raiders game. 68%, 75, 58, 64, 59, 83, 81. So it's very clear at this juncture, Xavier Worthy's snapping out like the number one receiver on the team. Okay. I believe that Brown is going to eat into most of Watson's snaps. If he doesn't, and we're getting a lot of Justin Watson with DeAndre Hopkins stand on the sideline, that should be a criminal investigation. Yeah. There's no excuse for that to be the case.
And I see this from Michael, where it goes management holding D-Hop back for a 5th-round pick to give up not a 4th. I get that, but that's, to me, that is so far out of the organization's hands. This is Andy Reid, right? This is more Andy Reid more than we don't want to give up a 4th rounder. Let's just make sure it's a 5th. I mean, they have to win the Super Bowl for this to actually come to fruition to begin with. I can't imagine that's the actual reason. That seems, again, I get where you're coming from. I just think that's too far-fetched in my opinion.
I think moving forward with the Chiefs, like, we could obviously look way ahead, and we can do all, it's one game at a time right now with them. And I think in this game, you're going to see a lot of Justin Watson because you're not going to see a ton of Hollywood Brown yet. But I'm going to kind of take a left turn here and just spin this at you. Are the Texans good?
Yes.
Why?
I think C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins have a phenomenal connection. I think the defense is fairly talented. I think their defensive line is really good. I think their offensive line is one of the worst in football, and that's why they've been held back. I think C.J. Stroud is still a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but the offensive line is, again, for as bad as the left tackle situation is for Kansas City, that's basically been the entire Houston offensive line.
Yeah, it's their whole line. Yeah.
this might be a struggle for them, especially with the Chiefs defensive line getting better with Charles Omenihu coming back, as well as the Texans are really effective when they run the football. Well, they can't run the football against this Chiefs defense. So this to me is a bad matchup for Houston. I still think Houston is a good team overall, though.
Okay. I think they're an average football team. I don't think they're bad, but I don't think they're good. I think they're really average. I think if they played in any other division in the AFC, they wouldn't be a playoff team.
Do you think it's because of the offensive line primarily? I think it's a lot of it.
I think it's a lot of it. That's part of the team. Like that's part of the reality, right? I mean, their offensive line is a sieve. Stroud has 17 touchdowns and 9 picks, and I saw Aaron Schatz of ESPN Plus tweeted this out earlier. By DVOA, he is 31st of 32 qualifying quarterbacks when facing blitzes. You think Chiefs might heat him up in this game a little bit? I think you might see that. Because if I'm the Chiefs, I'm putting McDuffie on Nico Collins and saying, beat me any other way. Do it. I have no fear of you beating me. If I'm the Chiefs, that's what I'm doing. Now, I know it's not that simple. Like, you're not going to sit there and play man every single snap with McDuffie on Collins. But like, if on any meaningful passing down, that's what I would do. I just look at them, and it's like, if Collins doesn't go nuts, who's beating you on this team? Who's doing it? Smattering at Tank Dell, smattering at Dalton Schultz. Like, Joe Mixon started out like gangbusters, and since then he's been really hit and miss. They've also beaten absolutely nobody this entire season outside of the one game against the Bills. That was the big capstone win they had. It was back in week 5. They have beaten nobody. Every good team they've played otherwise they've lost to, and they also lost to the Jets for reasons I still can't understand. But if you look at the Texans this season, it's been a whole lot of teams that you're like, okay. I mean, literally beat the Colts, beat the Bears, beat the Jags, Bills, great win. Pats in Drake May's first start. Colts again, Cowboys with Cooper Rush, Jags with Mac Jones, and the Dolphins. I mean, those quarterbacks, you're literally talking Anthony Richardson twice, Caleb Williams behind no offensive line, Trevor Lawrence, who stunk even before he got hurt, Josh Allen again, the one great win, Drake May when he had no experience, and then Cooper Rush, Mac Jones, and Tua, who never beats a good team unless he's in college. Like, I mean, I just look at this game and I'm like, if they beat the Chiefs, it would be a huge anomaly for them. Because even I watched that whole Bills game. The Bills in that game, and I'm not taking any way they won the game. The Bills in that game, Allen was atrocious. It was 9 of 30 for $131. They had no Amari Cooper yet. They had no Shakir in that game. Like, they were just, I don't know, they were fine. I get like, but and McDermott killed them late in that game the way he managed it. That also was in Houston. I look at this game and I'm like, I don't like if this Houston team is what it's been the last 2 months and goes to Arrowhead. I get it. Like, the Chiefs haven't been a ball fire on offense. The Chiefs should never lose to this team in this game. They just shouldn't. I mean, unless Mahomes is walking around on one leg and they just can't do anything. Like, I don't know. Like, 20 points feels like more than enough to win this football game.
Yeah, I think the under is probably the best bet if you're going to throw something down on this game. I think Houston is still a really good team outside of that offensive line. Their defensive line does scare me. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry is solid. You mentioned, we've talked about Tim Settle in the comments he's made, but he's still having a really nice season. I guess that brings me to my next point. One, sure sounds like Patrick is starting. What do you think the Chiefs do at left tackle? I think Joe Thuney did an admirable job against Myles Garrett. He died a slow death, which is all you're hoping to do. You're not going to win against Myles Garrett, really. You're just trying to not get your ass kicked. He didn't get his ass kicked. It looked way better than Kingsley Suamataia as well as Wanye Morris. But how's it going to look like in this game? Because for me, when you put Joe Thuney at left tackle, the run game running to the left really struggled. They ran fine to the right, which I don't know why the Chiefs don't do more. You have Trey Smith over there. Juwan Taylor actually had a really nice run blocking game, but they kept going left. What do the Chiefs do at left tackle? How do they protect what's going to be a pretty banged up Patrick?
Well, okay. So there's a couple ways to skin this one. One is, I think if you're the Chiefs, you mix up Pacheco and Hunt and you pound the ball on the interior behind Humphrey and Smith and just say, look, we're going to take the starch out of your edge rush by just running it religiously with some creative movement. Maybe you get some pulls from Tooney where you can get him in motion, a little bit and get him up through, an A gap or a B gap, get a block. So you can kind of get him back on the interior on some of these run games. But I got to be honest with you. I expect Andy to call 45 pass plays in this game because that seemingly is all he knows how to do. I still, in all the years I've watched football, that second half of the Cleveland game is one of the dumbest ways to play a football game I've ever seen. Ever. They're lucky Mahomes didn't break his leg on that play where he got hit. Like, that could have been the end of the year. It could have been Mahomes in a cast for 6 months. It could have, that was insane play that way. All they had to do was run the ball. Jameis could have had 9 quarters. They weren't scoring 21 points. Like, they had no shot. And they just kept putting him in harm's way. And in this game, everybody's going to sit there and say, well, they just got to run the ball. They're not going to run the ball. Have you seen this team? Like, the problem with the Chiefs, and really with Andy Reid, and look, Andy Reid knows more about football than I could ever imagine to know. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and damn well deserves to be. The problem at times with Andy is if they don't run the ball well early in the game, they will completely go away from it. They will not go back to it. They won't do it consistently. Even if they then have a big run later in the game, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that if they don't run the ball early for consistent gains, he's done. That's it. They're going to throw. And that is my one concern in this game. I think if the Chiefs play smart, they're going to win the game. I just don't think Houston's got enough firepower to beat them. I think the Chiefs might have 6 sacks in this game. Houston can't block. Stroud's not overly mobile. I think McDuffie can lock up Collins to some extent. Like, to your point earlier, I think they just match up with them. I think the Chiefs just do a lot of things that are going to give Houston a lot of problems in this game. But the one way they could get beat and lose is if it's one of these deals where they don't run, they're constantly in 3rd and 8. You're asking Jawan Taylor to actually line up like an adult on the line of scrimmage and then block somebody who's really good. Okay, and Jawan Taylor needs to go running kickstart to do that, apparently. And then you're asking Joe Tooney, who's a borderline Hall of Fame level guard, to kick out the tackle and take on Danielle Hunter. Like, I got to be fair to Joe Tooney, man. You couldn't ask this guy to be in a tougher spot right now. Hey, Joe, can you kick out and play tackle and also do it against Myles Garrett and Danielle Hunter in consecutive weeks? Because that'd be great. Thanks. I mean, and then also on a short week, like TJ Watt potentially. You got that in you? It's insane. Like, they're asking this guy to do something that literally I don't think there's any other guard in football that could do this. So, look, I think if you're Kansas City, you run the ball, you control the clock, you play the short game, yards after catch, all that. Like, let me ask you, do you think they're going to do that, or do you think they're going to throw the ball 45 times?
They're going to throw the ball 45 times. I mean, that's just what they do.
That's what they do.
And part of the frustration, again, if you have, we all pretty much agree, this interior 3 is one of, if not the best in the NFL. Now, it does make things a little different when you have Joe Tooney on the outside, right? Let's be real. That's taken away the best guard in football, and you're putting him as a average tackle, right? The best tackle on this Chiefs team, at least right now, but in the grand scheme of things, probably about an average tackle. But Caliendo graded out very well, more so in pass blocking, more so than run blocking. But if they're so good run blocking with that right side, why don't you do it? That's why I just don't understand. I'm a guy on my couch. I'm not Andy Reid. I don't have the rings. I'm not making it to the Hall of Fame. But if I can see this, I don't know what I'm overlooking. That's what it comes down to.
I will never understand it. And like, this is a game, if you want, Pro Football Reference has a lot of really interesting stats and you can really look up some pretty cool stuff. 5 teams in the league have more missed tackles than the Texans. Only 5. Like, they've given up more yards after the catch than they've given up air yards this year. Throw the ball. I've been the guy who's screaming to stretch the field. This is a game. Get the ball in guys like Worthy's hands, Brown's hands, and like let them make plays in space. Let them go do it. Like, the entire game plan for Kansas City should be, we are not letting those edge rushers win this game. Whatever, we will turn this into a 7-on-7 drill. And if you can beat us that way, fine, do it. We're going to run the ball. We're going to throw underneath. We're going to get yards after the catch. We're going to take those guys out of the game. We're going to make it so that Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter are not factors in this game. But you can only do that by staying ahead of the sticks because you can't throw a bubble screen on 3rd and 9, right? You're not going to run the ball on 3rd and 7. You have to stay in manageable downs and distances. That's the way to win this game. That is the way to bleed clock. Like the funny thing with the Chiefs, in this stat, I'm gonna pull it. It blows my mind every time I see it. I'm like, how's that even possible? So offensively for Kansas City this year, the Chiefs are 29th in terms of the amount of drives they've had this year. Only the Rams, Falcons, and Cardinals have had fewer. And yet the Chiefs have run the most plays in football. Every drive they have is like 12 plays. It's insane. Like, you look at that, you go, that has to be a first, right? Like the team with the 4th fewest drives, like they have this year 25 fewer drives than the Cleveland Browns and 14 more plays. They score on 44.4% of their drives. That's 7th in football. Like their offense is brutal to watch. It is like watching paint dry on a bench, right? In the Sahara. That it's brutal football. But you look at their numbers. They're 9th in points per drive. They're number 1 in time of possession per drive. They are 13th in yards per drive. Okay. Plays per drive, 6.8. You guessed it, number 1 in the NFL. Like they have the ability to just control the clock and wear you down and be brutally efficient. Everybody I'm sure knows they're number 1 in the league on 3rd down. Like go out and kick ass like that. Fine. Just line up from Houston and say, hey, guys, guess what? Every time you're out here, it's a long drive. It's a long drill. Going 11 plays. 11 plays, 50 yards. Settle up. Like, it works for them. So, to me, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm not trying to go away from who I am. I'm just sticking right with, hey, this is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to do. And I think it takes away Houston's biggest strength in this game, which is coming off the edges 1,000 miles an hour and getting after Mahomes and creating negative plays and or turnovers.
Yeah, and I think that short game to Xavier Worthy is becoming much more valuable. It's not just Xavier Worthy, you run a deep ball, because they've not connected on that deep ball hardly all year. But getting Xavier to actually run real NFL routes, and you're showing and seeing that he can do that. That to me is impressive. I know a couple drops last week. People were complaining about that, but I think overall, Worthy's been extremely impressive. I do want to talk about the defense, though, because I think the Chiefs' defense coming off the best performance of their season, 6 turnovers. You won't get 6 against Houston, but I do think the 5 sacks, that is a realistic possibility. What have you taken away from this Chiefs defense? The moving parts in the secondary, no Chamari Connor, more Jaden Hicks, Trent McDuffie. But the defensive line to me has been the story, right? The emergence of Charles Omenihu coming back off of that injury. It's not just what he has done, it's what he's allowed everyone else to do, which is fewer snaps for Turk Wharton. Turk Wharton, I think, was getting overworked. Now, all of a sudden, you see Turk Wharton with fewer snaps. He's more effective on those snaps. The one concern I have, though, my guy, my dude, is Chris Jones is playing almost every single snap. He played, I think, was it 58 of 62?
I was going to say like 90%, wasn't it? Something like that.
It's Max Crosby levels. I don't understand this, barring Chris Jones saying, I have escalators in my contract. I want to make sure I hit those. I might be sitting out week 18. Better get those numbers in now. I don't know your thoughts there, Verderame. I've not seen his contract, but is that a real possibility? Because why else is Chris Jones playing so much?
Because they've watched Derek Nottie play. And they were like, you know what? We're going to play Chris Jones every single snap of the season. No, in all seriousness, I mean, that might actually be part of it. But I look, I just think they're to a point. They're coming down the stretch, and they're like, look, we need you. We need you to play. That being said, I agree with you. Like, it should be more like 75 to 80%. I mean, it's a little bit much. I think this is a game where the D-line could really take over and win the game for them. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And I thought I'm not breaking new ground here, but the second Charles Omenihu came back, this defensive line looks completely different. I mean, literally, like night and day. They could not do anything for a month. And then Omenihu shows up. And by the way, credit to Charles Omenihu, who looks like he was shot out of a cannon. So I guess rehab went well for him with the ACL. But my God, I mean, this is a team that all of a sudden has a 4-man pass rush. And when you factor in the blitzing here and there, by the way, and I mentioned the stat earlier, the DVOA thing, I would heat the crap out of Stroud in this game. I would just be like, look, I don't care. If Dalton Schultz wants to have 3 catches and 40 yards, let him do it. That's fine. Like, I'm blitzing. I'm causing all kinds of communication issues. By the way, Houston has not played here or played at Arrowhead with Stroud as its quarterback. Like, he has never had to deal with this crowd. He's never had to deal with this kind of noise. Like, if I'm Spags, especially early in this game, I am forcing them to communicate. I'm showing all kinds of stuff, the line, all like, hey, you're going to have to deal with it. Now, the weather should be pretty good for the game. It's going to be sunny, about mid-30s. But again, that's great for Kansas City. If you're Houston, like mid-30s, oh my God. Look, I think this is a game where the secondary should not be having to hold up for 3-4 seconds. This should be like, hey, look, we're getting home immediately. But there should be a rotation. There should be Mike Danish should be, mixing in and whatnot. And so I will say this though, and I don't mean this is not personal. Enough of like some of these guys like FAU and like it's please. Like the rotation should be like 6 guys deep at this juncture.
I haven't. Okay, I get why Uche hasn't played because he hasn't shown anything. I don't know why necessarily.
Well, I would play him, but apparently he's essentially like persona non grata with them.
But with FAU, the one pushback I'll give, I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been great, but FAU's not played a ton. But in the snaps I've seen him play, I think he's been fine. No, I'm not saying he's been great. He's not been worth a first rounder. I just
worth a 4th rounder. Like what?
No, but he's been fine, right? I think you can live with him on the field. And where I'm at this point of the season, with the amount of snaps these guys have played, 3 games in 11 days, week 6 bye, I'm okay extending the roster out right now to try and obviously you need to win, but trying to give some guys some rest because again, going back to Chris Jones, 95% of snaps is just too much. I do want to talk about the secondary with you. Are they going to be fine come playoff time? Did the Browns game change your viewpoint on them? Christian Roland Wallace looked pretty good outside of, again, one of the worst routes you'll see an NFL player take when it came to that 63-yard rushing touchdown by Jerome Ford. Obviously, they signed Steven Nelson, who I was excited about based on what he did last year. And then we heard him talk, and it sounds like he literally just was off his couch. He said he did some light jogging. What do you make of this Chiefs secondary right now, and can they get it together come playoff time?
So my opinion of their secondary did not change between the Chargers game and the Cleveland game. Like, I actually think their secondary is getting there because Jaden Hicks playing a lot more, like every week setting a career high in snaps. And he's playing really well. Like, he gives them an athleticism because quietly, look, one thing that is clear if you're watching this team and you're really looking at it, Justin Reed has lost a little bit of a step here. He can't cover guys. It's not that he's bad. He's not bad. He cannot cover guys. And Brian Cook is built like a linebacker, and like he's never going to cover guys. So you need in this defense the way Spags plays, you need a safety who can like actually plays a little bit of man on man, and Hicks can do that. Hicks has the athleticism to do it. Last year it was Connor who did that, and then they actually basically morphed the guy into a corner. Now I don't think Hicks can become a corner; he's too big. He's a safety from central casting, but I think that's part of the answer here. Playing a little bit more 3 safety. Playing a little less of Cook here and there and letting Hicks play in that strong safety role, but where he can kind of also play free safety, kind of play like that hybrid role. And then, listen, I also think the other part of this is to Joshua Williams, to his credit, he's not been Deion Sanders, but he's been fine. He's not getting torched. Like, nothing against Najee Johnson. Najee Johnson, when he was on the field, it was blatantly obvious. Teams are just throwing him. And it was like there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can't play functional defense when one of your corners is just a mark every time the other team drops back. Joshua Williams, to his credit, is not allowing for teams to just take a 3-step hitch drop and just throw it over there. So that's happening in conjunction with Hicks playing more, with Menahu now back on the front end. I'd like to see him play Leo Chenal more. That I'd like to see more of. I don't know for the life of me why they play Nick Bolton on 3rd down, but they are obsessed with doing it, so it's not going to change. But yeah, no, I think their defense can win them the Super Bowl. Like, I really do. I think defensively, this team, they can't afford any injuries. None. But I think this defense, while it's not what it was a year ago, it's still really good.
Final little defensive thought here. Is there any credence in your mind to playing Trent McDuffie back in the slot? He's obviously this team's best outside corner, but he's the NFL's best slot corner, right? I think he's an above average outside corner. But when Trent McDuffie is playing in the slot, he is literally the cream of the crop. If Joshua Williams is doing that solid on the outside, again, long shot here after what we heard Steven Nelson talk about in his presser, but that's an outside corner only. Is that a thought process in your mind? Is if Steven Nelson can get up to speed, you have Williams there, Shamari Connor was getting cooked there. They've thrown how many guys into that slot position? No one's taken that role. Is there a chance they move? Again, not the entirety. It's not like when you play slot corner, you're playing 100% of your snaps there, right, but even 60%. Do you think you'll see Trent McDuffie start to transition more back in there?
I think it's, if Nelson can get up to speed and play well, yeah. But I mean, I also would say, I think really with McDuffie, it's going to be matchup specific in a lot of these games. You know, like when they play Denver, he's going to be on Sutton. You know, when they play the Steelers, if Pickens plays, he's going to be on Pickens. You know, I think now against a team like Buffalo, it's a little bit different because you got Cooper and Shakir and Coleman, and you could, but like, I think a lot of times it's going to be matchup specific. With they get the Super Bowl and they play the Lions, he's going to be on St. Brown. Yeah, that he's just, wherever St. Brown is, McDuffie's going to be there. But yeah, I think in an ideal world, they would have loved that Jalen Watson and another corner on the outside, and then you could play McDuffie inside. But right now, they've got to move him around a little bit. But I honestly think defensively, with Williams playing well, with Hicks playing more, with Menahu back, look, I think defensively there's a world where they're in the playoffs giving up less than 20 points a game. Like I really do. My big question with the Chiefs is offensively, like, going to come out of a coma at some point this year, like ever? Or is it just going to be one of these deals where it's just they are just grinding out every drive, every game? And look, if they win, who cares? I mean, yeah, during the game, it gives me a migraine literally every week watching them because it's just like, oh my God, can you ever get a yardage total more than 8 on a given play? But like, they win. And in this game, I actually think it's the way to play this game. Is just the efficiency, run the ball, stay ahead of the sticks, you know, get the ball out of Mahomes' hands, yards after the catch, and just say, look, we're going to paper cut you to death in this game. And on defense, we're blitzing 12. We have no fear. Here it comes. Like, probably how they win this game.
A little quickie here. Do you think Patrick has the yips on the deep ball?
I think it's a yips. I think that his mechanics are not as crisp as they need to be on the deep ball when you watch some of the throws. But I also would say this. I know there's a couple of videos floating around like, oh, look at these 6 passes he missed. I get it. I think a lot of it is he just doesn't trust the protection. Like, he knows in his head, all right, I got to take a step, 5-7 step drop here. I got to hitch, and like, even when there is good protection, he's so used to getting the crap kicked out of him that it's like, I got to rush. You know, it's just one of those deals. Like, even then when you get the protection you want, it's almost like the clock is sped up so much in his head that the balls has got to be out. He does have to be better throwing the ball down the field. He's not been good this year throwing deep balls, but the yips would suggest it's like some big mental thing that he can't complete a 40-yard pass. I don't feel like that at all. I just think it's more the offensive line has been such an abomination off the edge at times. And I also think too, like, look, there have been a couple of them this year that, like, the throws weren't perfect, but Worthy took himself out of bounds. You know, those throws weren't great, but they should have been caught. I also know it's Patrick Mahomes, and it wouldn't shock me at all if we get into a playoff game and he hits 4 of them in the first quarter, and you're like, all right, yeah, okay. Take the yips and shove them, you know where, right? Like, it's just, I have been asked on the radio, honest to God, probably 20 times this week, Chiefs Bills, what do you think if they play each other? And I say the same thing every time. If they play in the playoffs and that game's at Arrowhead Stadium, I think the Chiefs will win the game. Because the Bills will just beat themselves in the game. The coach will screw something up. They'll have some ridiculous mistake. And there's going to be 4 or 5 plays where Mahomes just rips their hearts right out of their chest. Like, it's what he does. That's what he's going to do. He does it every time you get to the playoffs. And I want to bring up the Bills. I think they're clearly the biggest threat to the Kansas City. But like, yeah, I could see this going on all regular season, and then they play Pittsburgh in the divisional round, and he just goes absolutely berserk, and you're like, okay, but whatever.
Sandbagging.
Yeah, threw for 380 and 5 touchdowns. You're like, it's fine. They won 35-3. Like, that's what they are.
Just sandbagging all season long. Oh yeah, he's a 12 handicap. He's 3 under. Yeah, okay, Pat. Appreciate that one.
But, it's like it's kind of like you're a golf guy, right? Like, it's like when Tiger be playing on like the Travelers, and you're like, all right, whatever. He's spraying the drive a little bit. He's hitting 380, but it's like he's hooking it. And then he gets to, and it's like you're going into the Masters. Like, Tiger hasn't had a top 10 finish in the last 3 tournaments. And then off of the first tee, just bombs 400 yards down the fairway. And you're like, yeah, okay. Like,
who was that? It was Stephen Ames, right? Who goes with the way Tiger's hitting his driver right now. I think anyone can get him. And then they played that match play, and he won on hole 10. It was just like,
it's just like, yeah, all right, sure. That's why I saw a quote from Tim Settle. I was like, oh my God, man. Like, why? The Chiefs, I'm sure, printed that out in 50-inch headlines and stapled it all over the locker room. But it's just like, man, the best example I can think of with that kind of stuff is when they played the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and everybody spent the entirety of the 2 weeks saying, man, the Eagles are more talented. I don't know how the Chiefs are going to block them. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they can possibly block them. I don't know how they're going to handle it. 0 sacks. Put it on a T-shirt. And the Chiefs just eviscerated that defense over and over. And it was like, yeah, you know what? Game's over because they're not going to stop them. There's nothing they're doing. And it's kind of the same thing even last year, that crappy offense when they went and played the Niners. And as that game wore on, you're like, yeah, if the Niners don't score a touchdown in overtime, this game's done because he's just going to take them down the field. And I feel like with the Chiefs, as frustrating as it is a lot of the time, like when it's winning time, they just do it. And I think in this game, we're going to see a game where they just are efficient and they're annoying because they have, 5 red zone trips and they score 2 touchdowns. And you'll look up at the end of the game. Like, oh, they won 23-20. Okay.
Before we get to score predictions with you, what's going on? It's been, again, so long since I've seen you. I don't know when the last time you were on AA over here, but what's been going on in Verderame's world?
Well, I've had a back issue for about 2 months. So yeah.
Old.
Yep. Old. Yeah. Went to physical therapy today. It was great.
Did you have your walker?
No,
You
but
go to bed
I
at
basically
8
needed one
p.m.
2
or-
months ago. So yeah, I mean, my world has been, I just started playing my pickleball again, for the first time this week.
Okay, dog, you can't make up me calling you old and go, just start playing pickleball back up again, you know?
Man.
And
So I keep active, Hey,
you don't
listen,
want this work, by the way. You don't want this work in pickleball.
I would kill you on a game of pickleball.
Oh, let's go. No, we'll do it. We'll find a time. I'm waxing you, pal.
Listen, you'll beat me in golf. You beat me in anything that involves speed. I will gladly play you in a game of pickleball.
Play for a bourbon. Let's play for a nice bourbon.
Okay, we can do that. No, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't do anything. Like I literally could not bend forward to turn on the sink. So ended up having a bulging disc and 4 displaced vertebrae and a joint that was out of place. It was a lot of fun. So
How did you do it?
getting out of my car.
How old are you?
No, I mean, I 36.
Oh, man, 6 years. I have 6 years.
Yeah, no, it's over, man. I think what happened, to be honest, is I probably did it over an accumulation of time. And then it just like, that's when I just felt it. Like, but yeah, it was like, but now I even sitting here now, I can feel it a little bit, but it's like, it's fine. It's not stopping me from doing anything. But yeah, it went to the chiropractor and the guy basically started jumping on me. And I was like, okay, like never been to a chiropractor before. So what we're going to do now. But now it's good, man. Family's out for the holidays. We're having a big Saturday. We're having a big party right at the Chiefs game on Saturday for a Christmas party. And, hanging out, living the dream, getting ready to travel every weekend for the playoffs for SI. I just booked my Senior Bowl stuff. So, party time, man. This is that time of year. What's other than the fact now that you're married and someone has to deal with you all the time, house renovation, apparently?
Yeah, house renovation, and that's been very fun. Today's been a big day getting stuff put in there. Hopefully, we're moved in by Christmas.
Whole house?
Whole house. My
Wow.
wife's parents are supposed to stay with us Christmas Eve night. we don't have a working bathroom right now.
Okay.
We
This
have
is the same house you've been at? It's just getting renovated?
no, we sold it. We sold that house and then
okay.
bought a new one because financially it made sense to get a little bigger. We might have hopefully some kids soon. We don't know. I will not down the road, right?
She's gonna allow you to reproduce?
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. Little Sterling's running around seems
God.
dangerous proposition.
Call the
Yeah.
police.
Yeah, those kids will be yapping all the time.
So are
But,
you still in the same like general area, Kansas?
yeah, very, very close. I mean, it's like 5 minutes away. But then I
Okay.
got to build a studio at some point. That's going to be down the road after the new year. But been a lot. But that's the main thing going on right now. That's the main thing going on in my life. That has been all encompassing. I have been covered in dust pretty much perpetually. I don't know where all my clothes are at. So if you've seen this peanut shirt on this pod before, it's because I don't have very many t-shirts right now. I've been going quarter zip with no undershirt. It's a real bad look.
Wow.
Very strong.
You're
Very
going
strong.
straight hobo look.
Oh yeah, I have it's been I ripped a pair of jeans the other day. Just ripped them.
So
Right.
you're the one doing the home renovation?
No.
I was gonna say, I gotta be honest with you, man. I don't know how I feel about that. If you're doing anything with load bearing walls.
No, I would not trust myself with that. No.
Okay.
Very minor stuff. I can do some minor stuff. I know
Okay.
I'm kind of being the GC, trying to get everyone there. It's been a lot though. It's been a lot, but I do know we are going to play pickleball at some point. I like the idea. I think it was who was it? Demetrio. Please stream the pickleball match. We will at some point. We should stream it on AA and we'll have a blast. We can do it for charity. We'll do it for the kids. We'll do it.
I'm happy to do that.
We'll do it
Well,
for the
really,
kids.
what we should do is get a couple of the Chiefs involved because they play.
Then you and me could be in a team.
Travis Kelce has like 6 courts at his house.
Well, let's go to Travis's house. Just text him.
Yeah, him and Taylor there. We'll play you both. But I think Garrick Dieter, he's a huge pickleball guy.
Oh yeah. The issue with Taylor Swift though is she has long arms, so I feel like we might be screwed there. Like I feel like she's lanky enough that she could get to a lot of balls.
It's also one of those things like, do you drive a ball at Taylor Swift?
Oh yeah. Oh no mercy.
Yes.
Are you serious? Oh yeah.
Well, I'm worried like if it's like one of those things like she's kind of famous and stuff, man. Like I don't want to be the reason that I get some tabloid like the ball hit the net cord and came up and hit her in the eye or something. You got to be careful. I'd rather drive it at Kelce because like who cares? The guy's 6'5", 260. He's all right.
He's taking it. I mean, I will say, in fairness, I did almost do that with hit a flop shot over Jerry Rice's head at Tahoe. Didn't mean to. He was walking around a corner. I shouldn't have been hitting a golf ball where I was supposed to be at. I kind of borrowed some clubs, and I hit a flop shot, and he turned the corner, and it went just right over his head. So I almost was in the tabloids for that, but luckily someone else in the area took that from me and the Jerry Rice, so I was okay. But Jerry was laughing. He was like, "That was close, my guy." And I was like, "Yep, sorry, that's on me."
Hey, see, that's why if you're like me at golf, you're just not going to the point where you want to hit it, so you don't even worry about it. Like if Jerry's where I'm supposed to be hitting this ball, Jerry's in the safest place on earth. There's no now. If he's about 275 downwind on a drive, look out, because that thing is whistling. But if we're talking anything with an iron, he's safe if he's in the spot I'm aiming for.
Shank City. All right, score prediction before we get out of here, because I'm sure people are done listening to us pontificate on the pickleball world.
Yeah, I mean, look, they can't score. Like, I guess I'll say like, I feel like Mahomes is going to be adequately pissed in this game. And I feel like the offensive line is going to play better than people think because they know he's on one leg. But even with that, man, like I'll say they win 22-17.
Love it. How do they get to 22? That's my main question. Is it 1 touchdown, 5 field goals?
Yeah. No, you know what? No,
I think
they'll.
Dude.
I won't go that far. I'll say they like. I'll give you here. You know what I think they'll do? They'll score 2 touchdowns if they'll miss an extra point or something, or they'll go for 2 for some reason and not get it, and then they'll have 3 field goals.
Oh, I love that. Matt Verderame, dude, this has been fun. I've missed doing this with you. We'll have to do it again.
What the hell's your score prediction?
Oh, I was gonna give it on. Oh yeah, I guess this is the last one we do. This is Thursday, isn't it?
Yes.
I'll go 19-17. I'll go back to the score that was the previous couple of weeks. 19-17. We'll go. What's that? 1 touchdown, 4 field goals.
Feels right.
Seems about right.
Yeah, a whole lot of bogging down at the 6. Yeah, it feels right.
Yeah. Well, they want to make sure to get Harrison Butker some work. You got to keep that leg loose. Got to keep it loose. Yeah.
Sure.
Appreciate everyone in here hanging out. Give us a like. We're on the road to 400, I believe, in the words of Patrick Allen, trying to get 400 comments. I did a bad job, apparently, and I forgot to pull up the reviews, so that's on me. But we do care, and next time Patrick's on this show, he will read them. I do read them myself. The person that accidentally gave us a 1-star review, but a really nice comment, thank you. You changed it back to a 5-star review. I thank you for listening. That did mean a lot to us. For Matt Verderame, I am Sterling Holmes. We are out.